Hi folks, yes, I know, this is the first video on Dailymotion in a while. I've had everything. Emails, PMs, IMs. It amazes me how I haven't had a brick through the window with a little note saying, "Where are you?" I get the message. Long story short, as I've just explained on an update video for Vimeo, is that things have gone bananas. Shed loads of overtime. I'm involved in a few projects. I've got correspondence coming in, we're working the weekends. Life is just busy, and will be for the next few months. But I promised someone on Skype, yes, I've even been hounded on Skype, that I would make a video and get it up. In fact, I'm making 3 videos this evening. One is down, this one, and there's another one to go, so I better get on with it. This is the first video in the ZFS Open Indiana series and server series. And this one is explaining and discussing how I got to where I was. And it came about through a number of different things converging for me to wind up what I was doing. One of them was the low power side of things. Now, if you know your low power computing history, you'll know Cherry Pal, and I was one of the Cherry Pal angels for Max Saybold to test the equipment. Unfortunately for Max, other companies got a hold of the ideas and they had more resource than him. They beat him to the post. I also think that Raspberry Pi was in the line at that point, and obviously ARM against the Intel chipset he was using. Things have just blossomed on, and his project has been swamped. But low power computing has for quite some years been on my mind. If you know the older videos that are on YouTube that people are still commenting on, believe it or not, they're the massive Zaser towers, Zaser 3s from Thermaltake. Those are all gone, and I've reclaimed some space under there. Yeah, so the low power side of things is one appeal, and that's why I wound up with a HP N40L and the greens. I got the green hard drives from Western Digital just a couple of weeks before they announced the reds. But it's also fitted, the standard power supply was changed out with a Pico PSU rated at 120 watts, and the whole system's just pulling 60 watts. An SSD, 3 hard drives, reasonable machine for what it is. Great. I'll have to go through it in a bit more detail on another video. But one of them, why I wound up there, is I got fed up with the amount of heat that was being generated in the office. I literally had a friend of mine who works in air conditioning, cooling. He's an engineer in that side, and we were actually discussing putting an air conditioning unit on the side of the house. Air conditioning on the side of the house. I mean, I was thinking, nah, there's got to be a better way around it than this. And sure enough, all the machines in here are now low power. You might be able to hear one hum from the gaming machine, which is still on. I've got another account in Minecraft at the moment. Yeah, so that was my solution. Low power, low heat, low noise, and I'm not too fussed about the performance, because as you saw on the previous Dailymotion video, is the latest Seditech machine, which is actually based on an old Asus motherboard, at least 2 years I think. Pimped it up a little, and it's actually doing better than the Fit PC3 did. Anyway, people want more information on that. I don't really know what more information there is to give you on it, to be honest. I think I read out the model numbers. But it's doing well. It's doing very well. Only if I push the processor do I hear the fan. It could have done with a better quality fan, but that's the only fault I can level at the thing. So yeah, so that had to happen. The other one was the RAID system. Now I stumbled across ZFS purely by chance. I mean, for a number of years, many years, I've been storage since the mid-90s. I've been trying to find some decent low-cost method of redundant storage, and I've made mistake after mistake, cock up after cock up. WinNT4 was my last real effort, and then I ditched Windows for RAID because NT, it kept the RAID configuration in a file. If the operating system went tits up, that was it. The RAID system was lost, even though all the data was on the hard disks. The RAID hard disks were fine. Without that file, you were screwed. And I lost over that. I got burnt, and I never went back to the NT engine for RAID. And I still haven't looked at how RAID is working. Because I wasn't a fan of the performance anyway. I looked into the hardware RAID cards, the low cost ones. I do have, and I think I showed it in a YouTube video, a pretty long card, which is ultra wide SCSI 3, I think. You know, why? You know, the cost of those high performance hard disks, I just couldn't justify it. I mean, I didn't have the money for that, so I couldn't use that card. I've either still got it upstairs or I've thrown it, I don't know. I know that the Cherry Pal machine was thrown. But the only ballpark that I could play in was the little cards, which were effectively software RAID on a chip. And I had real problems controlling them, because the early ones that I was playing with about 8 years ago, you went into the BIOS, on the boot sequence you could go in before the OS started, and it was basically unfathomable. I lost a set of 4 because one had failed. I went in, couldn't work out which one it was reported had failed, pulled the wrong one and screwed the set. You know, trying to get back from that, forget it. Somebody literally had to post my backup to me, my backup hard drives, and one of those got damaged in the post, so I lost data then, which I wasn't too happy about. And I was just scrabbling around like this with various solutions, until it just so happened that I was on a Solaris course for work, and the tutor told us about ZFS, and the more he told us and the more I saw the control structure, you know, with the IDs actually being stored on the hard drives, completely portable between architectures, you know, I sort of went, ah, Nirvana. It turned out not to be quite as Nirvana as I expected, though. There are a few restrictions when you actually want to add disks to some sets or upgrade others. Like I found out with the upgrading the 2 terabytes to 3 terabytes, there was a change in the block size or something. I had to destroy the set. I couldn't just pull the drives and upgrade them. So I had to copy everything off and copy it all back on again, which backed up all the timestamps. But I could have done it different ways, but I don't like a single tar stream. If you report everything out to a single tar stream and just one frigging block it out, the whole tar stream's buggered. So I copy all the files off individually, just because I'm anal like that, I suppose. So yeah, there are still a few gotchas with ZFS that the tutor didn't teach us about, but I'm just loving it. I mean, I haven't got to worry about keeping configuration files because it's all on the hard drives. The one thing that you will have to come to terms with when we get onto OpenIndiana is that it's got a different way of assigning the drives. You know, you've got disk tracks and virtual. Oh, it's to do with SCSI drives. Duh. We'll come on to it. It is a slightly different way of thinking about it. But the other thing that I like about ZFS, and particularly the OpenIndiana side of things, well, Solaris really, is it will boot off ZFS, and it's a darn sight easier to make ZFS bootable across multiple boot drives. You haven't got to piddle about. Hopefully I've got to look that up again. But it's just so easy to just restore back. I mean, I can, if the drive, if the SSD that thing's running on toasted, I've got backups of the scripts to just run and get the thing up and running in about an hour. So why go to the bother? But I think I will show you the technique of getting a ZFS multi-boot across drives. So if one boot drive fails, the other one will work. And the snapshots, oh, that just makes upgrading so easy. And if it screws up, you just roll back the snapshot. Oh, so gorgeous. But I wound up with OpenIndiana principally because I was using OpenSolaris. And then disaster happened. Oracle bought out Sun. And they changed the license. For OpenSolaris, you can use it in a test environment, but if you're using it in a live environment, you're not licensed. You can't use the free version. Oracle, they've got form. They're well known in the industry. So, yeah, I had to find one of the forks, and I did it in a very unscientific way. I looked at all the forks, went into their communities and saw which community was the most active and also which community was the most friendly, because, you know, one of the problems with this kit is you set it up, you get it running, you leave the damn thing. By the time I actually need to do any work on it, I've forgotten everything. I've got to look it all up again. That in one aspect is one of the biggest beauties and the largest weaknesses of that sort of thing. Just set it up and just get it running. That's how I wound up on that. I had a few things here. I had tried, well, I was going to talk about Active Directory and my favourite, because I was running NetWare for a while. NDS, Network Directory Services. Brilliant. I think it's now known as eDirectory or something like that. That was released in the early 90s, I think. And then a few years later, lo and behold, Microsoft came up with Active Directory. But NDS was so much better than AD. If you ever get the chance to really get to spend some time with NDS or eDirectory, whatever they're calling it now, do it. I mean, it's gorgeous. Particularly the ZenWorks, Zero Effort Networking System. Beautiful. They just did things so well, as opposed to Microsoft's solutions. Solutions? How can you call something Microsoft stuff a solution? I don't know. It just causes more problems. But there you go. It's a shame that Novell went to the wall, but they did. I think technically they had by far the better product until they hit NetWare version 5.5. That was a disaster. They changed the kernel to a Linux kernel, and there were things like avens all over the place on servers just crashing. Not good. So I had to find an alternative, and everything just fell into place. So I think that's how I wound up with running ZFS using OpenIndiana on a low power server. Are there problems? Yes, there are problems. There always are. Particularly when you start to try and push things. I did try FreeNAS for a while because I wanted the what the hell is the acronym? DLNA? DNLA? One of the two. It's video streaming basically. Which isn't that easy to set up on OpenIndiana unless you really know what you're doing. But FreeNAS, it just set everything up in this jail, and the share was mounted in a jail, and then it was a case of, no, sorry, the share was not mounted in a jail, but the DLNA was mounted in a jail as a plug-in jail, Then I had to try and get the plugin in the jail to talk outside the jail to the share, which I then had to republish as a share and try and republish inside. Oh god, it drove me balmy. It drove me absolutely loopy, and the community wasn't much help either. Oh, you just don't know how to use Unix. Oh, that tickles me to this day. You don't know how to use Unix? Yeah, right. What a joke. So it was no surprise that it wasn't that long before I went back to Open Indiana. So I think that's how I wound up where I was. Now different people are going to have different mileage out of different things, because I'm hoping that Microsoft have got their act together on RAID sets, on software RAID. I also hope that a lot of these manufacturers of the software RAID on a chip, on a card, I really do hope that they've improved their interfaces. So your mileage out of that might be better than mine, because it's taken me quite a few years to get to this stage of the journey, and I'm quite happy with Open Indiana and ZFS. I've had a small number of issues. I think one of them was I changed architecture. Yeah, I think I changed processor architecture, and the installation of Open Indiana didn't like it. So it was just a case of, okay, blank the disk, reinstall, and and just load up the ZFS set, and away it went. Run the scripts, boom, user set up, change a couple of the passwords, sorted. You know, that is just so much easier. And I'm hoping that over the next videos on this series that you'll get to learn just how easy it is, and you'll get to love ZFS and Open Indiana and the rest of it just as much as I have. Love it. I don't get the chance to love it. It just sits there and does its job. You know, exactly what a computer should do. And yeah. I'm going to have a quick look at some of the, ooh, what's that? Oh, not more oh, God. Okay, more incoming correspondence. YouTube, a few people posted on the ZFS home server. Physical security when it comes to theft. Converting the PC into a 4U chassis. Building a box to keep it in. Yeah, since that video I've switched to the N40L, and I'm not too concerned about physical security, because there are backups off-site, basically. The backups are sorted. I don't have the space really for a rack. I needed to downsize the PCs in order to get some space for other stuff. So, and going low power helped an awful lot with the cooling and venting and power management. Yeah, so things have changed since that video. Do I have external access as well to my files, say from my phone? I used to, but the amount of port scanning that was going on was just ridiculous. So I closed the secure shell access, so I don't have remote access. There is very little now that actually works that's actually accessible from outside. Fire is your main scare or flood. Do I use surge protectors and RFI filters? Yes, I'm using some APC units. If not, why don't you look at our website? We could save you money in the long run. Okay. Yeah, very clever little. The HP G5, is this worth buying now with 2 Xeons and 16 gig of RAM for $199? Good question. I'm going to have to look that up. The HP G5, $199. The G5, well, let's do this quickly. Now, with the G5, what can I say? Come on, quick look, quick look. It depends on your version. Totally depends on your version. However, I've worked with the G5s, both the rack mount and the towers. They put out a heck of a lot of noise. Quite frankly, I think that you can get better for less. It does take a bit of a shopping around. I mean, well, not much I can say. I mean, you've got to make your own call, really. They are power hungry machines. Well, they're not too power hungry, but they're pretty reasonably power hungry. There's a heck of a lot of noise off them. It really does depend on where you're going to have them, what you're going to use them for, what hard drive comes in. 16 gig of RAM is pretty reasonable. Depends on what you're going to use them for, really. I think you can get better, lower power consumption, quieter, less money. I don't know. Certainly for around that ballpark. If I was facing it again, I wouldn't bother. The HP there has just stayed off, quite frankly, because it's just too noisy. I think yeah, I think I told this person that yes, I am going to kick off the videos on Dailymotion. So yes, this is kicking off. So I think that's about it for the questions. I'm not going to go back any further, or there's one more which is reasonable date. Thanks, ZFS. Somebody else converted to ZFS. Also, okay, cool, great. So now you know why I wound up on low power computers running ZFS on OpenIndiana, which is pretty much that. Now, the next few weekends are going to be busy. A lot of overtime. I'm sorting out other people's computers as well. And I need that space in order to be able to get some kits together and to throw together a test bed to show you things. So it isn't going to be that quick, and my sincere apologies, but I've just hit a time in my life where the overtime is there. I need the money, I've got to grab it, because it's not going to be there for long. I really am sorry, folks, that this is taking so long. But there is nothing stopping you, really. I mean, once you get to grips, if you have a look for ZFS and for the OpenIndiana, if you have a look for the OpenSolaris, the OpenIndiana isn't too difficult to the OpenSolaris setup, because I have actually got videos on YouTube that does show the OpenSolaris setup with the with the RAID for the operating system ZFS set and the multi-boot partition. There are some slight differences, but even then the OpenIndiana crew should be able to help you out on the forums. So the videos are there if you are desperate. All you need is a test machine, and for the kind of people that have been commenting so far, hey guys, you've got the kit hanging around. And I mean, when I tested, as I showed in the videos, when I tested ZFS to learn it, to learn what I wanted to do with it outside what we were taught in the classroom, some USB sticks did the job. You know, you don't have to start hooking up masses of hard drives. USB sticks will do the job nicely. So I think that's about it for part one. now you know where we are. I'm going to see you on the next video, whenever that is. I've got to convert these and get them up, and I've got work tomorrow. It's Saturday. This is Easter bank holiday, and I'm working Saturday and Sunday. But crazy life. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Now that I've started this series running, I'm going to try and keep it going. I'm going to try and keep some sort of a momentum, but I cannot make any promises. I've got to deal with what life's throwing at me, and there are some people out there who need some help. I think on the Vimeo video I explained some of the correspondence I'm getting, and there's a few people have come at me for emotional support. I'm doing what I can. There are times when I just got to stop and say, look, I need a breather myself. But there we go. So I'll see you on the next video, guys. Take care of yourselves, and catch you later. Bye. And by the way, thanks for sticking with me. I know that these are hellish delays, but life, love it, hate it, you gotta live it.